Hey guys, welcome back to a new video. I'm Stephanie Fisher. I'm a licensed counselor here in the state of Michigan, and I am owner and operator of In Progress Counseling. Over the next few videos, we're going to look at kind of the energy piece that shows up when there's high distress, when there's transitions, when there's a lot of decision making going on, when autopilot's been disrupted. I really think we comprehend just how helpful autopilot is and just how difficult it is when autopilot gets disrupted. And so I've used that example of when my husband and I went over to New Zealand, and you had to think about every turn, every decision behind the wheel, because everything's different. And the amount of physiological and cognitive taxation by the end of the day was astronomical. And the only thing we did was disrupt our automatic system of driving in America. We just went and drove in a different country, but it's just so dissimilar that we had to expend a lot of energy staying present in that and making wise decisions that allowed us to stay safe. I'm going to point out again, he drove, I didn't, and so he was further taxed. The point being, energy expenditure matters a great deal. Having to use energy to make decisions matters a great deal. Having to process energy once something's happened and there's a buildup of energy in our system, that takes a lot of intentionality. And changes and transitions can do all of those things. It can disrupt autopilot. There can be a ton of decisions that have to be made. There can be a lot of stressful energy built up in our bodies. And so over the next couple of videos, we're going to talk about how do I give myself grace? How do I understand what's actually happening? How do I articulate it to other people? How do I, wrestle out when is a good time to make a big shift, because big shifts require energy. Sometimes we choose them, sometimes we just have to adapt and adjust to life because a big shift is happening around us without our consent, without our intent. That happens too. And it's the same type of kind of inundated processes going on in your system, going on in your brain, going on in your stress response, and adding complexity to it. During transitions, when autopilot is disrupted, that's when we typically see a lot of trauma responses show up, in addition to those defense mechanisms that show up that are more immature and then they mature over time. So that destabilization is rife with many unintended experiences, which actually helps explain, at least from my point of view, why we love to stay put. Why we are actually designed for homeostasis. We can't stay in chaos, but there's actually such a manifold disruption that can happen when change is going on around us. I really understand why we choose not to move sometimes, and really why we hang on for dear life when a transition is happening. So over these next couple of videos, I'm going to break a lot of that down. But where I want to start is the idea of sequencing. I want you to keep that in mind if you're following along here. Sequencing matters a great deal when we talk about how exorbitant the taxation to the system can be. And so over the next couple years, if all goes well and I'm successful at completing the PhD program, there's a lot of decisions that need to be made. Now, one of the very lovely things, the university that I get to adjunct at right now, they have some positions open, and there was a inquiry, hey, Steph, can you put in your application here? That would be, you'd be a contender. Well, it's halfway across the country, right? I love this school. I love my experiences at this school. But if I put my priorities in a list right now, the dissertation process is the priority. And so before I decide anything vocationally, I have to look at all of the things going on around me that require a lot of energy and effort. So number one, finishing up classes. Number two, clinical caseload, and I'm already teaching, so there's an education caseload going on. Number three, I'm in a first year of my marriage. Number four, I'm geographically rooted here, so to disrupt that is actually a huge ask all on its own. And number five, that dissertation piece is going on, and that is going to tax the system for probably the next 9 to 10 months, quite likely. And we're talking about cognitive taxation, we're talking about energy expenditure, we're talking about vulnerability, putting yourself out there, having your ideas critiqued, having to process that. That in and of itself is going to take so much capacity. And so to say, hey, there's this job over here, do I want to do that? Well, there's geographic shift. There's going to be a disruption to my resources, my people, my friends, my humans. There's going to be a new job that you're trying to navigate. There's going to be just a ton of micro decisions to make. And I already have all of this energy going on for the dissertation process. When I think through what I know about transitions and taxation and allostatic load and energy expenditure, I have to work that into the decision-making matrix and say, Steph, is that a smart thing to step towards right now when all of these other pieces are asking something of you? And that's where we're going to ground some of this. I can put it in a sequence and say, a year or two out, those are great decisions to be considering. Right now, at this juncture, is it wise to tax the system that way? Well, because what I know about transitions, I don't think so. That doesn't feel wise. Now, I can over time have different clarity. I can arrive at different places. I can have, new resources show up at this university. That's all possible. But as I appraise it right now, there's competing interests. There's already this giant allostatic load going on. Would I tax the system further in a way naively and say like, oh, I think I could do it. I think it'd be fine. I probably could do it to some degree, but boy, does it get rowdy really quickly when you disrupt autopilot, you make transitions, you're depleting your resources, you're trying something new. There's already that vulnerability there. It's a ton. We're going to explore that over the next couple of videos.